Loose joints on a figure are always a pain in the butt. They don't necessarily ruin it, but they can get in the way of posability. They can get in the way of your enjoyment. They can get in the way of transformation. There are two methods that I see people talk about when it comes to things like tightening loose ball joints, and that is either using superglue or using floor polish. Specifically, I guess, future floor polish. From what I've seen and heard, both are very, very effective ways of dealing with loose ball joints. However, I don't want to risk putting super glue on my figure's joints, even though I know it's a thing that can be done and there are techniques to it and stuff like that. I worry too much because it's glue, I don't want it to lock things up or anything like that. However, there's the floor polish one, which I'm still hesitant to do because anything that gives me an opportunity to accidentally freeze a figure's joints is something I just am kind of wary of. But there is a way to tighten things like loose ball joints and loose mushroom pegs without the use of any sort of liquid or anything that could endanger freezing up the joints. And that is a paper towel or a napkin or anything of like the sort of tissuey kind of thing. I suppose newspaper would even work. But yeah, paper products. Those are actually a pretty effective way to deal with things like loose ball joints without worrying about using glue or floor polish. Now, for anyone who's familiar with either Steelbane or Skeletron, you know why this figure is the one on the chopping block today. Now, I will say, and I said it in the review, this Skeletron isn't as bad as I thought. He is a little floppy in a couple of his ball joints, but he's actually tighter when I got him out of the box than Steelbane was, so that's kind of unexpected. But anyway, it's a very simple process. We're just going to jump right into it. Okay, so here we have our Skeletron. Got our paper towel just right off to the side, and we are going to get started here. So, very simple process. I'm just going to do it for like 2 different ball joints just to give you an idea of how it goes, and then I'll just finish the rest up off camera. But anyway, he has 6 specific ball joints that are a problem, and that is the hips, the shoulders, and the wings back here. Now, they're not, like I said, they're okay, but they are a bit on the loose side, so easy enough to fix. So we'll start with the wings in the back because they're the easiest to get to. Just pop the ball joint out. Then take paper towel and just tear a little bit off. And get that out of the way. And then fold it up. And then we just put this into the ball socket. And I will actually use his sword to kind of push that in there. So just push that in. That's all you got to do. And then pop the ball joint back in. And there you can see it's already working a lot. Like that is better. That is definitely better. Now the reason this works is because ball joint looseness is caused by there not being enough friction between the ball and the socket. So by adding, I'll do the arm this time, by adding that little bit of tissue paper or paper towel or toilet paper or napkin or whatever you want, by adding that into the socket, you give it a little bit more friction. You increase you just ever so slightly increase the amount of surface inside the socket for the ball to grip onto. And that creates a tighter joint. And not like, impossibly tight, but that is definitely a little bit more snug. You can see the old one is like Very easy to kind of pull up, whereas this one takes a little bit more effort. Like, you know, he's not gonna... He's drooping a little bit. Whereas this one, do that, and he's just immediately drooping. So it's a small change, but it does make posing figures with loose ball joints a lot simpler. So I'm gonna take care of the rest of these off camera, and then we will cut straight to the end. And here we go. Skeletron's joints have all been, not all his joints, but all of the 6 loose ball joints have been stiffened up. And yeah, it does make a difference. Now, what I like about this method, aside from the fact that it's really easy to do because you just grab something you got laying around the house, you don't have to worry about waiting for stuff to dry, you don't have to worry about doing it wrong and completely destroying the joint. It's just grab some paper, pop the joint apart, stuff some in there, close it back up, and you're good to go. Aside from the ease of all that, what I like about this is the fact that it's much easier to dial it in, where like you can put a little bit of paper in there. If it's still too loose, you can put a little bit more in, just a little bit more at a time, a little bit more, and just, you know, get it to the desired tightness for the joint. Or if you do it and it's too tight, you can pop it open, take the paper out, and try it again with a little bit less paper this time. Then there's also the fact that with the, as I hear, with the floor polish and possibly the super glue, that extra layer that's what adds the friction to the joint that tightens it up, that eventually wears away. The same can be said for using the paper, but if the paper wears away to the point where the joint gets loose again, it's a really simple matter of just taking a little bit more paper and just, you know, stuffing it back in there to tighten it up. So yeah, not saying that the other methods are wrong. Haven't tried them myself, so, you know, can't say for sure. And enough people do them that I'm sure they work just fine. But for me, I prefer this method because you don't have to worry about permanently damaging the toy at all. One other thing I would like to mention. This works for ball joints incredibly well. It also actually works for mushroom peg joints. There aren't any on Skeletron for me to really show this off with, but if you're familiar enough with your toys to be tightening up joints, you'll probably know what a mushroom peg is. So, actually, I guess maybe he has one on the spine, but anyway. Yeah, mushroom pegs, it's the same deal. You just pop it apart, put a little bit of paper in there, stick it back in, and it should be a little bit more friction-y. So, yeah. As for pinned joints, that's the kind of stuff where the paper obviously isn't going to work because you just, you know, you can't get paper in there. Like, if this thing was loose and flopping down, I could not get paper in there to tighten it up. That you would actually need to use, like, floor polish. Actually, I'm just now realizing Skeletron does have mushroom pegs, so yeah, you can see right there. So to tighten that up, it would just be a matter of sliding this out, putting a little paper in there, and sliding it back in. But that joint is plenty tight, so don't need to do anything with that. Anyway, that has been my quick and hopefully informative look at how you can tighten up certain like ball socket and mushroom peg joints without using super glue or floor polish. Again, not saying those are bad methods, just for me, I prefer this because it's easier, I don't have to go to the store and buy anything, and I don't run the risk of screwing it up and accidentally fusing the joints together. So, hopefully this has been helpful to at least a few people. I know I'm not the first person to ever try this, but it's a method that works really well for me. So hopefully if you're having trouble, it'll work well for you. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you the next time something needs fixing.